Yesterday, I had to go to a meeting. I don't like going to meetings. It was a big meeting, and there were a lot of very famous psychologists there. Famous psychologists. That's like saying famous cello player or something. Most people might not know a famous psychologist if they ran into them at the store. But some of the people in this room are very, very accomplished researchers, people I look up to. Um, and the meeting was about how do we train people to be competent therapists. And the back and forth was so fascinating. Should we use, this questionnaire? Should we use this rating scale? Do we use this set of statistics? How do we measure it? And the thing about it was you could just feel the tension and the constriction in the room. And this was a Zoom meeting, so we weren't even actually in a room together, but you could just feel the fear. We need to measure this. We need to get it right. We need to make sure we're changing what we do, so we teach people correctly, so they can, be competent as much as possible, and we can be competent as much as possible. Minimize mistakes. What's the set of things we can do consistently all the time to make sure that we're doing the right thing, so the people we train can do the right thing, so then their clients can learn to do the right thing. And the thing about it was, I think underneath it all, everyone there knew that this was a hopeless, impossible task. But nobody can say it, because it just seems like if you admit it's a hopeless task, then you should just give up. In Zen, we admit openly it is a hopeless task to escape old age, sickness, death, separation from what we love and who we love. We admit, hopeless. Never going to be able to escape those things. So let's keep trying. But it's not escape in the sense of we're going to try to get away from it. It's we're here and we notice those things and we open our hearts and look for opportunities to practice the way. So what is the way? I'm glad you asked. One of my favorite koans is case 19 from the Mumonkan, Ordinary Mind is the Way. And this is a mando, a back and forth between Nansen and Joshu. Joshu, from Joshu's dog, case 1 of Mumonkan. Nansen, if you have studied the Mumonkan, you know from Nansen Kills a Cat. It's another very famous koan. But Nansen apparently was just a really great teacher, a very down-to-earth teacher. And Joshu really took Nansen's teaching and perspective and perfected it. So Ordinary Mind is the Way, case 19, is about a conversation, kind of a dokusan actually, between Nansen and Joshu. And in this interaction, Joshu realized something. It's worth noting that Joshu came to study with Nansen pretty late in life. And he studied with his master for something like 40 years. So he earlier in life had a realization, but it wasn't until much later that he really got it, which I always find encouraging because it suggests it's never too late if you stick with it. So here's the case. Joshu earnestly asked Nansen, "What is the way?" Nansen answered, "Ordinary mind is the way." Joshu asked, "Should I direct myself toward it or not?" Nansen said, "If you try to turn toward it, you go against it." And this is sort of what I was kind of noticing yesterday in this meeting. How do we measure competence? How do we figure out how to do this right? I'm getting further and further away, right? Joshu asked, "If I don't turn toward it, how can I know that is the way? If I'm not trying to look for it, if I'm not trying to figure out how to do it, if I'm not actively putting effort into it, how am I going to know if it's the way?" Nansen answered, "The way does not belong to knowing or not knowing. Knowing is delusion. Not knowing is blank consciousness." Knowing is delusion. Not knowing is blank consciousness. You ever been really sure about what to do? Like you had really solid plans and your life doesn't care about that at all. It just doesn't unfold the way you think it's going to. Knowing is delusion. Expectations are delusion. They're a story we tell ourselves about what's going to happen. Not knowing is blank consciousness. So if you also just say, "Yeah, I'm not going to plan, I'm just going to go with the flow, whatever happens, happens," that's not very skillful either. Sometimes being too laissez-faire about things causes suffering. When you've really reached the true way, beyond all doubt, you will find it as vast and boundless as the great empty firmament. How can it be talked about on a level of right and wrong? At these words, Joshu was suddenly enlightened. How can it be talked about on the level of right and wrong? How can you know ahead of time the right thing to do? Can't. So what do? Do you just give up? Like, it's not going to think about it. Well, that's blank consciousness. That is disengaging from life. Well, should I like double down on my plans and really kind of learn what to do? Well, that's delusion. So how will you know the way? How will you know what's right? How will you know what to do? Well, I think the answer is, I don't know. But the verse to this koan, and actually it's written on the back of my rakusu, Roshi Bruce, when he decided to begin my training as a teacher, wanted to remind me of this koan and this verse and the way. So the verse is, "Spring flowers, the moon in autumn, the cool breezes of summer, the winter's snow. If idle concerns do not cloud the mind, this is man's happiest season." The spring flowers, the moon in autumn, the cool breezes of summer, the winter's snow. If idle concerns do not cloud the mind, this is man's happiest season. So what are idle concerns? Am I going to get it right? What am I going to do? Idle concerns. Well, it's spring now, but what happens in the summer? You're already out of the present moment. So much snow on the ground. I wish it was the spring. It's not going to make it any easier to deal with the snow. So there really isn't anything hidden. There's no mystery to figure out. There's no deeper meaning. There's no principle that you have to discover that will unlock the secrets of the universe and help you to be competent all the time and help you know what to do all the time. There's just this moment. And as Zen students, we practice awakening to this moment again and again and again. In the midst of our idle concerns, we just open the hand and let them go. And it's an act of faith because we want to know. We want to know what to do. We want to know if we do the right things, it's going to be okay. To open the hand of thought and to let go of wanting to know gets easier when you notice how much grasping is costing you, how much the turning to find the way is actually getting in the way of the way. It becomes easier to let go. So here's the good news. If you're not sure how to do this, just keep living and paying attention. And you will notice, if you're paying attention, the costs of not letting go. And if you pay attention to that and the suffering caused by it, naturally you will feel motivated to find a different way. If you think you've got it, like you figured it out, just wait. Life will also help you to see that you are deluded and help you to find your practice again. How will I know it's the way if I don't turn towards it? Well, as Nansen said, how can it be talked about on a level of right and wrong? Just let go. Again and again and again. Life doesn't really need your help to figure out how to unfold. Just like your breath doesn't need your help to figure out how to breathe. It's not like your lungs are confused. You don't have to interfere. Just get out of the way. But don't get out of the way so much that you're no longer engaged. Still have to participate. But what do I know? Figure it out for yourself.